Hello, Lewis here from Valkyrie Canine Services. We're back at Crown PSA. Today we're going to be going over luring. More specifically, we're going to be looking at luring in the focused heel. So first of all, we need to talk about what luring is. And luring is basically a teaching process where we can control the dog's mechanics and behaviour in order to gain access to reward and reinforcement. So the most common method that is going to be apparent to most viewers is luring for food. So for example, if I had the dog here and I used the food by the dog's nose and then the dog followed the food and then I used my yes marker to give him access to the food, what I've done is I've taught the dog that when you follow the food you gain access to the food. So I'm luring him to show him that following is something that's reinforcing. And it doesn't just stop there, I can control the mechanics in all sorts of ways. So if I bring the food this way and then up over the dog's head and the dog goes into a sit, then I've lured the dog into the sit. Now luring doesn't have to be just done with the food. You can do it with a ball as well, it's the same sort of thing. So if the dog is following the ball, yes, the dog gets the ball, the dog has been lured into a behaviour. Similarly, you don't need any sort of apparent reinforcer. The dog just has to understand that following something is going to gain access to something he wants. So once I've done enough repetition with food in my hand, the dog's going to be pretty reliable at following my hand because he understands that reinforcement is going to be available. So whereas my hands aren't intrinsically reinforcing to the dog, they understand that it is linked to a reinforcer, such as the ball or the food. Now luring's a really powerful tool. It helps us to shape precise behaviours. So we can shape pretty much any behaviour you can imagine can be lured at some point. We're going to have a couple of different helpers today. I've got some very young dogs, some more intermediate, leading up to more experienced dogs that kind of understand the whole thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go get our first dog and we're going to talk about the very basics of luring. So today's first helper, going over the very basics, is going to be Hector. Hector's a 4-month-old Belgian Malinois and he's a cool little guy. So first things first, let's get Hector ready to work. Ready? Now the very first stage of luring is going to look a little bit something like this. I don't want to start practicing the heel position just yet until I've got a very solid and reliable behaviour, yes, where the dog is going to be following that food hand to try and gain access to it. So I do it a lot at this point. I want the dog to be able to move backwards, I want the dog to be able to move forwards, I want him to turn, I want him to move sideways, I want him to move to the other side, yes. I do all of this first before I go on to that heel work. So it may take a couple of sessions to make it really reliable. You may find that at first you have to leave your hand a little bit more open so that they can gain access to it. They're getting little bits, they're being drip fed so that their hope is there, that they believe they can keep getting that. They work really hard for it. Once they've done that, you can go to a closed fist and repeat the same thing. So now he's not getting it, but he knows that if he tries long enough and he tries hard enough, yes, he's going to hear that word and he's going to get his food. So from there, once I know that the dog is able to start following the food wherever I go, I'm going to start practicing in this heel position here. So usually what I do from there is I'm luring him this way. He already knows how to turn and stuff like that off of my hand movement. So from here, I can take my hand, flip him over there by my side, yes, and reward. Now I'm not going to ask straight away for that head up. The very first thing that I want to build reliability in is boom, yes, just popping around into that position, just getting there. After that, I'm going to start just asking for a couple steps, yes. Now again, we've kind of changed the criteria a little bit here. So you may find that whereas once you were able to close your fist, now you've changed the picture, the dog may be a little bit unfamiliar with it, a little bit unsure if he can still gain access to the food there. So go back to the drip feed and start drip feeding in that position until he's a little bit more confident and you can close that fist again. Now with the heeling, what I want you to do is you'll notice as I walk, my hand stays very still. So as I'm walking forward, my hand is creating pretty much a block from where that dog can get. And I'll show you why I'm doing that. So if I just bring my hand up here now, he knows that the food's up here, he's going to follow it. Look what happens. Here. See how his position changes, it became a little bit crooked and his footwork changed. What I want to do is capture all his energy, keep my hand pretty low and try to get those fancy feet there. Here. So while I'm building the mechanics of it, that law is going to be very consistent so that I can mark a consistent behaviour. The more deviation in my hand position, the more deviation in the behaviour. So again, when he's here, my hand is going to stay there. As I stop, I can bring my hand up here, yes. Because there's not much behaviour change that can occur there, and we start getting used to him being in the heel position without that hand being right on his nose. But for the moving, I'm going to keep my hand just here. Now if we've done our prerequisite training well, and we've really taught the dog how to follow the hand round, like this, or to follow the hand this way, then what that means is when I'm heeling, just before my turns, I show the footwork, that if you've not already seen that video, go check it out. I show him the footwork, but I pair it with something he knows. So watch what happens. Heel. Watch what happens as I turn my hand this way. The dog is already turning because he knows that behaviour. He knows to turn when that hand turns. So I can already start with my rear end awareness, show him the footwork, show him the hand, yes. And he can associate what is later going to be his cue that we're turning, the footwork, with the thing that he already knows now, which is to follow this food hand round. Yes. Now once he becomes proficient in that, and he's used to this, and we're getting that heel work that we like, the right footwork, the head staying consistent, the body staying consistent, then it's time to start fading that law. Now what that looks like, the way I do it, is as I'm walking, I time 1 beat away with his footwork. So as his feet are on the ground and one's going forward, I bring the hand up from one stride and straight back down. Like way back, yes. So I start teaching the dog that heel isn't dependent on the hand being there. You will still get reinforced even when that hand isn't there, but we're going to use negative punishment. So if I bring that hand up and the dog jumps, he changes his behaviour, we're going to give him a negative marker, so no, which tells the dog reinforcement is not available for that behaviour, and we give him the opportunity to try again. So heel, it'd be up, down, yes. So footwork stayed the same, you gain access to the food. Heel. As he gets more and more adept at that, you can start throwing more of them in. So in between strides, up, down, yes. You're getting more and more used to doing the same behaviour with less help from the handler. Head there. Heel. Eventually we're going to get to the point, which is about where I'm at now, so we're going to have to swap dogs soon, where the hand is going to be able to, let me get on the right side so you can definitely see it, where the hand is able to up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So as you can see, we're starting to remove the reliance on that law there, which is what we want. We want to build a habit through consistency, and then when we remove that law, the habit remains and we keep that same behaviour. Sure, when he's older we may need to negatively reinforce or punish some things that we don't quite like as we remove that law, but for now it's good enough just to use negative punishment. No, that's not the correct response. Try again, yes. Certainly as we add more distraction into his work, as Hector's going to be a PSA dog, so he's going to have a ton of competing motivators around his obedience. We're likely going to have to add some corrections in there in the future. But we're going to go get our next dog now and show you where the next steps of that are going to be. Okay, so this is Esco. Esco is actually Hector's older brother. He's a little over a year old. He's come to me as a rescue, and I'm working with him with the intent to moving on to either a sport or working home in the end. So with Esco, we're going to go over the phase where we're starting to fade the law and we're adding a little bit of negative reinforcement into the behaviour. So we're really strengthening that habit while getting rid of all the help necessary. Okay, so we'll pick up where we left off with Hector. Heel. So what we've got now is we've got a dog that's pushing into the hand, trying to gain access to the food. The way that we're going to apply the negative reinforcement is when stuff like that happens, where the dog's head and nose comes off the hand, we tap, tap, tap with the e-collar, or tap, tap, tap with the prong, whatever tool we're using for that. So the reason we do that is we are punishing the behaviour we don't like, which is moving the head from the position that we're teaching, and we are negatively reinforcing the behaviour we do like, which is to keep the head here. Again, we're going to start with just starting to move that hand that little bit. If the head position was to move, the hand would come back. We push the dog back into the behaviour using the tool that we have available. Again, the hand's going to start coming up and back, and up and back. So we're creating that habit where the head stays where we've positioned it through the mooring until we can start to move the hand out to the side here. So now I've moved my hand over to the side of the dog's head, but his head position hasn't changed. So if his head position does change, I'm going to apply the correction, bring the hand back up to where it was to show the dog the target behaviour, where I want his head, and then the hand goes back to the outside again. And I like to just lightly touch the outside of the dog's head here. So this is his target. Once that law's moved, the food's still in my hand, but touching the outside of his face with my hand is his goal. So if I was to move my hand, I'd want to see him trying to touch it like that. So he's seeking that behaviour. He knows that this is the target behaviour. This is the mechanic that's going to gain access to the food. Yes. From there, still with the food in my hand, I begin heel to walk off, move the hand back to the side, and then similar to what we did before, now I'm going to start showing a picture that's more akin to actually heeling. So my hand would move away from the face and back, yes, and reward. So now the behaviour is that when the hand moves, you're not going to follow it, and moves away and back, yes, and that's when you get your reinforcement. So over time we're going to keep approximating closer to the normal picture of that heeling. So the hand would move, come back, would move, come back. So over time we're getting to the point where the hand moves, comes back, moves, come back. Every stride the hand's going to move and come back to show the dog the picture that the hand isn't what's important. The mechanic of being here, being in this little space, yes, that's what gains access to the reinforcer. So over time I should be able to do absolutely anything with my hand. And he knows through the whole lawing progression that we've gone through that his behaviour when he hears the word heel is to be in that position. I should be able to do anything. Pat my head, pat my bum, reach out over here, and the dog's still going to stay in that same behaviour because heel elicits the response of footwork like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, head like this, yes, in order to get that food. At this point, it doesn't matter if there's food in the hand or not. Hands can be doing anything they want, and then whenever he changes his behaviour, he's going to get negatively reinforced back into the behaviour we want. Now once we are into the stage of negative reinforcement and we've got rid of the law and everything, that's when we're going to be looking to move forward into a positive punishment phase. So at that point he knows the behaviour, he knows how to escape the aversive effect of being in the wrong position. So now I want to make him make the right decisions. So whatever punisher I'm using, if it's the e-collar, if it's a prong collar, I'm going to use it a little bit more sternly at that point. When he gets the behaviour wrong, I'm going to apply a bigger correction and then make him actively choose to make the right choice all the time. So when he hears heel, he's going to avoid breaking the behaviour that we've taught him so far. So I'm going to go get another dog, I'm going to go get Ozzy, and I'm going to take a look at what it looks like when we're in a more positive punishment phase. Okay, so now we've got Ozzy out, we're going to look at what the final picture looks like. So you're going to be able to see that it doesn't really matter what I do, I can be a weird guy like this, do whatever I want. Ozzy's going to stay in this position because he understands that when he hears the word close, this is the response to that. We've gone through the whole process with Ozzy, so we've gone through the luring stage. You can see he wants to follow that hand. He knows what this game is from back in the day. We've gone through having the hand on the outside of the face to show him where I want him when the lures move, all the way through the point of nothing in the hand, no apparent reinforcer. He knows he can get reinforced, but there's no apparent one. I'm not bribing him to do anything. And then the flip side is we've negatively reinforced that when you make the wrong decision, we're going to bring you back into making the right one. Close. So you see, Ozzy's not going to make a ton of mistakes here. He's done a lot of the work, he's laid the groundwork out, he knows what the response is to this, and he knows how to avoid the punishment. Now, like I said before I put Esco back, I'm into a phase now where I'm not just going to keep managing the behaviour. I'm not going to keep telling him, no, please come back into this behaviour, no, please come back into this behaviour. Now I need to be in a point where the punishment outweighs the desires to do the competing motivators. So there's a stronger punishment here. It's a punishment that he wants to avoid, and that is what positive punishment should be. Positive punishment should make the dog not want to continue doing that behaviour. It should decrease the probability of that behaviour being exhibited again. So if you find yourself nagging and nagging and nagging and nagging, you're still using negative reinforcement, you're still in that phase, and you're going to struggle quite a lot around the competing motivators. You need to get to the point where the punishment is enough to make the dog go, no thank you, I'll comply with what I'm supposed to be doing. So it's not all about punishment as well. Obviously there's going to be a lot of reinforcement involved. So yes, to match the fact that now we've got a stronger punisher, we also have a stronger reinforcer. So for Ozzy, the ball is life. So when he gets it right, when he does his sequence of behaviours, when he's got through the task, when he's done what I want him to do, he gets to play ball. So you can see that quite on the contrary to what some might have you believe, yes, there's a strong aversive nature to a higher level correction, but it's not suppressing his drive. This dog has a ton of drive to compete and to get to what he wants. Because he's gone through negative reinforcement, because he's been taught to get through some slightly aversive situations, yes, it makes getting to the actual reinforcer all the more sweet. So that's a very simple and very quick breakdown of my process going from the lure all the way through to the final response of the heeling. This approach has worked very well for me with my dogs, my competition dogs, so on and so forth. So if you'd like to see more on luring, maybe you want me to go a little bit deeper into the earlier phases, I kind of rush through these just to show a general picture, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to see any other videos, again, comment below what you want to see. Do you want to see more on reward markers, reward placement, variable reward schedules, you name it, say it down in the comment below and we'll get a video up about it. So close. Again, if you want to see more of me and Ozzy, you got to like, you got to subscribe, you got to comment down below. Do everything to get those videos out there, and we will get more videos up. We're going to be doing videos every Thursday, so if you want to see something next week, get your comments in before then, and then we can get it out to you next Thursday. So I'll see you next time. That's the camera, bro.